This is Marclon Byron, and he will be presenting his list of pieces and then his observations on those 10 pieces. Take it away, Marclon.
All right. Hi, good morning, everyone. The 10 pieces that I am looking at so Small Pin by Beckett, song by Beckett, played by Starless Steel Orchestra, arranged by Duvon Stewart in 2016. Sweet for Days by Patrice Roberts, played by Fusion Steel, arranged by DK Samai in 2019. Chase to Life by Voice, played by Ebony Steel Band, arranged by Duvon Stewart in 2016. Far From Finished, also from Voice, also played by Ebony Steel Band, also arranged from Duvon Stewart in 2017. Boss Head by Marsha Montano and Bungie Garlin, played by Despos USA, arranged by Odie Franklin in 2017. Toko Band by Lord Kitchener, played by Renegades, arranged by Dr. Jet Samaru in 1999. And Good Morning by Peter Ram, played by Desperados, arranged by Carlton Zander Alexander in 2017. Magic Drum by Marsha Montano, played by Fusion Steel Orchestra, arranged by DK Samai in 2017. Breakthrough by Chucky, played by Supernovas, arranged by Amrit Samaru in 2016. And Good Morning by Peter Ram, played by Skiffle, arranged by Kendall Williams in 2017. One thing I would like to note when listening to these pieces, now I have not a big mixture of in terms of years, but when I was looking at the more recent pieces or songs compared to the 1999 Toko Band, there are some big differences in terms of the approach to how the Panama music is, or how a Panama song is, the approach to how they would do the music. So in terms of if I was listening to Chase to Life, which was done in 2016, compared to Toko Band, which was done in 1999, I realized that just from the intro alone, it's done differently, because the intro for Chase to Life it's done more song based. So the arranger would use parts of the song to start it, because the way how the song is made up, they make up the songs in such a way now where it's all about trying to tell a story, or trying to like paint a picture in your head, where in my opinion back then it was more music based, and it was more, trying to create more music for you to enjoy, rather than now it's more paint a picture in your head for you to enjoy. So for example, in Chase to Life, there's a section in the development where he plays a small snippet of the Flight of the Bumblebee, just a small part. I'm not sure if it is intentional or not, but it came across me while I was listening to it, because it came to me because the name of the song is Chase to Life. He had the Flight of the Bumblebee don't really have a space in there, but then I did some research just to find out that the lifespan of a bumblebee is 28 days, and the name of the song is Chase to Life, and I just kind of like put that together. Don't know if it was intentional or not by the arranger, but I just put that together while listening to the song. So I thought that was really cool. So I just like that it have a little bit of contrast between the years in terms of telling a story and music. But even with telling a story, no, there's still a lot of creativity in terms of music. No, because even with the intros for each song, for Far From Finish, songs like Good Morning, they would use parts of the song to start the song. For example, in Chase the Life, you would use part of the chorus to start. But in Tokoban, as one of the older songs that I did, it was more music based. It was more just pure music that was created to make the introduction. And also another thing I'd like to point out, I know last class that we had, you gave us a name to use or a word to use instead of sampling, but it's just not coming back to me right now.
The word is interpolation.
Interpolation.
Interpolation, yes.
Interpolation. All right. Recently it has become a really big trend where a lot of arrangers would use interpolation to paint that picture in your head or create or drive home that story that they're trying to show, rather than back then, as I said. So the way how a panorama song has evolved over time, it is plain to see. You could hear it, you could tell, from if you really have to listen from all the way down, you have to come all the way up, and you'll be able to tell. Another thing that I would like to point out is that in the development section of each arrangement, there most times I've realized that there is a set standard. Although people say panorama song does not have a set form, a set structure, it is kind of like it has one, or you can't put a name to one, you can't, it but it does have a structure when it comes to the development. Most people tend to follow the same structure for it. So you start off after the exposition, the verse and the chorus. Most people do a bridge, whether it be some syncopated drops, whether it be a ascending chromatic run, whether it be a subito piano crescendo, or just a dead stop. Something happens before they go into the development. They don't just go into the development. Something bridges us into the development. Then there's that section where it's either the verse variation or chorus variation, where the cellos would take over the melody, and the front line would accompany them with some runs, or maybe some drops, or some rolls, anything that the arranger would like to do. And whether it's the verse variation first or the chorus variation first, or sometimes it's just a verse variation or chorus variation. And like Sweet for Days, done by DK Sama, he had a lot of jams. So he would go from the verse variation, and then he went to a jam, and after the jam he would go back to a chorus variation, and after that chorus variation he went back to the next jam again. So compared to other arrangers, some people would just do a variation and then do a little small jam, and then the minor, and then the bridge back into the recapitulation. And that's how most of the time, every now and again, when you reach a arrangement, you get some differences in terms of the development, but most of the time is the same. Most of the time, I feel like most arrangers have that one set view on how the song would run, except for this is not a song that I did, but just from observation. It had a band I recall from 2020 who instead of putting the minor before the recapitulation, they started their development with the minor after the bridge, so they went bridge minor. But those are just sometimes arrangers use they try to change things up or change the mix up, change it up, sometimes and things like that. Also observing that a lot of movements between sections would be a chromatic run or heavily syncopated drops. And one trend that I've realized from a particular arranger in DK Samai, he prefers using just drops to go into every section from the exposition to the development. Drops every time he switches from a variation in the development, it's drops from development to the going into the minor, drops from the minor going into the recapitulation, drops from the recapitulation going into the it's drops. So that's one thing I've realized that he did compared to other arrangers such as Duvon Stewart, where it would have like that balance or mixture of going into one section maybe a chromatic run, or going into one section maybe some drops, or then he might do some drops, or it might be a very long extended transition with ascending crescendo and then descending drops, scalar syncopated somehow, and then complete stop, and then the drummer count them in with one count and back they start back again, things like that. And a lot of the time I've realized that arrangers decide that in their recapitulation is basically the use of the chorus majority of the time. I've realized every time they get back to the recapitulation, they will never go back to the verse and use the verse. They rather use the chorus, and from the chorus they play like the main part of the chorus, and then a lot of arrangers like to do this kind of solo vibes type thing with the mid-range bands, where they will play a piece of the chorus and then the cellos and the mid-range bands would now play like a small solo, and then they go back again, play a small motif from the chorus, and then do that over, and then crescendo something into a last jam, and they do that last jam, and most of the time the last jam is just to build a bunch of vibes in the band and in the crowd and everything, and you get your ending, your big band, and your end. And the use of the players and their voices as well, also heavily used in that last jam area, in that recapitulation area, where they like the same thing. Sometimes instead of using the mid-range pans for reply, they may use the voices of the players to sing out, or sometimes they do the both, they sing out and play at the same time. And sometimes when listening, sometimes I've realized one thing when listening to Chase the Life in particular, it actually had a section where I had to listen repeatedly because the voicing was done so well that I thought the players were singing, but they weren't singing. It was just the voicing was done so perfect that I thought the players were singing. It was really good to hear. And I listened to that part a few times because I was kind of actually baffled that it wasn't them singing, and it made me go back and listen to all the other arrangements to see if I could find anything like that. And compared to the smaller arrangers, it wasn't as good because I guess that particular Duvon Stewart is a little more experienced in terms of those things. Another thing I like to notice is the styles of each arranger. So looking at people like Duvon Stewart and then DK Samai compared to Carlton Zander Alexander, where I believe Duvon Stewart's approach to arrangement is more where I think Zander and Duvon's style are similar, but different in the terms of Zander is way more musical, I would like to say. He's way more, he uses a lot more motivic development, I think. He really uses bits and pieces of the song, and a lot of repeats, a lot of sequencing, a lot of things like that in his music. So it as even if you're not a panist, or sometimes even if you're not a musician and you just like the sound of pan, or you like the songs that playing on pan, you can kind of follow when you listen, and you know what part of the song always playing. You can tell, oh, this is the chorus, or this is the verse. Even when the melody itself is not playing, you could hear, okay, we in this part of the playing here is supposed to be the verse, or this part of the playing here is supposed to be the chorus. And in Duvon's style, you could tell because he doesn't heavily use that kind of motivic development that Zander does, but he sets it up plain for you to hear. And most of the time it's in a lower voice sometimes, and he has the front line playing some nice lines on the top, or a lot of the times he would have the melody playing all the way down in the bass. Sometimes you don't even know the melody there, and you really have to listen because sometimes the front lines and the mid-range band stop playing, and you could hear, oh, the melody is in the bass, and stuff like that. And the thing about it is they both follow that kind of, I'm trying to tell a story type, and it's so different because although Zander also uses some sort of interpolation, it's not as much as Duvon. As Duvon uses a lot of interpolation, a lot of the usage of other songs in his music is night and day compared. And then when you look at someone like DK Samai, where his arrangements not as complex or as Duvon's or Zander's, is still to the point where the melody never escapes you, it never leaves you. You can still tell, example for Sweet for Days, you can still tell, okay, this is the chorus. And it's a little more plain to see in the verse and in the first verse variation and chorus variation, but a little down in the chorus, not in the chorus, a little down going into like the minor and things, you really have to listen in and chime in compared to other songs. So it's all about how the arranger decides to approach it, I guess. Another thing I've noticed as well when you're talking about the minor sections, arrangers like to use either or. Sometimes they use a main motif or from the song that they are doing, or they take a song that is that can refer to their song and use that as like the main basis of the minor, and create like that storyline in there and give it all that excitement and then carry back to the recapitulation to give you back that main song. And those are like the main things that came across to me, other than the little hidden messages that I think Duvon leaves in his music that I really enjoy. I really enjoy researching stuff when he leaves like little hidden messages in his music. I still don't know if some of those stuff are intentional or not. I'll have to ask him that on a personal level, but I personally believe he leaves hidden messages in his music, and I like to look for those. So yeah, that's mostly what I have.
Okay, so well done, Marclon. I can tell that you thought a lot about the music that you were finding. And I want to tell you this. If you perceive something in the music, assume that it's deliberate. Okay? So all those little Easter eggs, they call them, right? That you're finding in the music, it's there deliberately. Now, does the composer, let me ask this a different way. Is the composer always aware that they are putting Easter eggs into a piece? I would say not all the time. But once the art is out into the world, it is no longer up to the composer what people perceive, right? So you could go and talk to Duvon if you want to. But always when you're dealing with a composer, an author, a creator, you have to allow for, when you ask them questions, they become self-conscious, and that colors the response. One of the things I want this study to do is to be dispassionate and non-judgmental. So we are not here to say what's good and what's bad. We're here to say what's there, right? So with that in mind, I say, if you find it and you can demonstrate this, then it's there. So maybe one of the things that you're going to be talking about is allusion. So an allusion is a literary device, but you have allusions in music as well. So an allusion is an indirect reference to something that's not directly being addressed, right? And poets use it, authors use it, politicians use it. Everybody who creates something with a rhetoric behind it uses allusion. They also use symbology and imagery and metaphor. So if you are up on your poetic devices and your devices of discourse, all of those things will apply when you look at musical compositions. Okay, so I'll leave it there. I'll end the recording.